Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Unorthodox Vegan. My name is Sean Gold and today we are going to make a vegan sashimi. We're going to take some bell peppers. We are going to roast them to get rid of the skins, take the thin skins off of them, and then we're going to plate that on top of some sushi rice, which we made a couple of weeks ago. So here we're going to be doing, just using that simple ingredients. Generally speaking, simple ingredients. We're going to be having the bell peppers. We have the rice, the sushi rice, which was very simply made with using some rice vinegar mixed with some short grain rice that just cook for, about 12 minutes, mixed in with some, about 1.5 cups of rice to 1.5 cups of water. Then you make that rice, and then you add in about 4 tablespoons of rice vinegar and I think it's 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'll come back to you on that in a moment. So that's what you do to make the sushi rice itself. Then you mix that together. So what we're doing today, though, is we're going to be getting it rice again, but we'll be roasting these bell peppers and we'll be plating them on top of that rice. But before we do that, we're going to marinate them. And the marinade that we're going to be using is called a mirin. Mirin, M-I-R-I-N. It's kind of like a sour sake drink. You can actually make it yourself or make an alternative. So I'm doing a substitution, which is just using some rice vinegar and some sugar. And I think what I've got in there is, I think 4 tablespoons of rice vinegar and 2 teaspoons of sugar, making that as a mix. And I just heated it up in the microwave so it all mixes together. And we'll be using that as part of the marinade. I'm also going to be putting in some nori into that. So I'll be breaking up some nori, some of that seaweed material, which we'll use to give it that extra little bit of a fishy flavor to it. And that's what we want to have, is a little bit of a fishy flavor to it. And I may even put in some miso. I've seen various recipes, but we'll check it out. Anyway, be back in a minute once I reset up the organization. And I'm also going to be roasting these on a barbecue. I've already got some eggplant out there because I have to make some baba ganoush. That was an earlier episode, about episode 3, I think it was, where we made baba ganoush. So I'm roasting some eggplant out there right now. I'm going to put these peppers out there. I want to have an orange one and a red one. Just red one to make it look more like a different type of salmon, 2 different types of salmon, one more orangey and one more red. We'll see how that looks. I'll roast these, be back in a minute. And we are back. Meanwhile, I roasted the peppers as I said I would do. They're a little blackened now, so what I'll do is I'm just waiting for them to cool down and I will peel them. I also made some rice while I was doing that. So I made the sushi rice, just a short grain rice, 1.5 cups of water, 1.5 cups of rice. I've already prepared the sourness, the rice wine vinegar with some sugar. So there's 4 tablespoons of rice wine and 2 teaspoons of sugar in that. I heated it up just to make sure that it was nicely melted together. So it's all in there together. Meanwhile, while I was cooking that, I also took a sheet of nori and I put it in my coffee grinder and ground it up to a nice fine powder, well, more or less fine, or fine flakes. And I put in a little bit into that mix of rice wine vinegar with some sugar as well for that. And I'm going to put in a little bit of miso, just a little bit of miso, maybe a teaspoon of miso. Get that in there. I want to get that flavor, and this is going to be for the marinade. So I want to make sure that that's all mixed into that. You got that flavor in there when I marinate the sashimi or the bell pepper slices. So I'll be doing that. Next step is to take these peppers and peel them. I said that's a bit of a challenge. They're a little warm still. Not too bad. I took them off a little bit and I'm going to peel that off, get the burnt stuff off, but I want to get the skin off as much as possible. And we want it to look nice as well. So I'm going to actually be getting a knife to help with that. And it is hot, so I'm just taking my time. And I will get that off, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I have peeled off the skin. Now the next part is to take off the flesh and get it into the sizes and shapes that you want. So as you can see, I've cleaned that all up. I've taken away most of the seeds and any little bits, pieces that I saw in there, a little bit of skin that was left on part of it. I'm now going to just put them onto a paper towel just to get rid of some of that excess liquid. and let them dry up a little bit before I put them in with the marinade. I just want to get them to soak up as much of the marinade as possible, and just don't need to have all that extra liquid that's in there from the peppers themselves in the roasting process. And just going to add a little bit of the nori. I didn't say that already. So I'm just going to let these things sit in there. And we're going to marinate that for an hour and make sure it gets as much flavor as possible into it. And then we'll plate it. All right, I've been trying a number of different things while I've been letting this marinate. So I'm letting the bell peppers marinate in the marinade sauce that I have for it. I brought out a tray, a fish tray that I'll be plating this on. And I've been trying to figure out how to make the sashimi rice pieces, and I find out it's just too sticky to do this by hand, so I'm looking at a way to do it without having the press. So I brought out some parchment paper, and using the parchment paper to hold it together and just press it into the shape. I'm just making the shapes that I want, and I should be able to lift those off and put those on. So putting in as much material and much rice as you feel is necessary for each sashimi roll. So putting in whatever we feel is about right. And then just using the parchment paper to hold it so it doesn't stick to your fingers. And then you can... So I have made the rice bottoms for it. Let's put on some of this marinated pepper on top. And I do trying to get rid of some of the excess nori on the top. It doesn't look quite as nice. And do a little bit of a mix. I have sprinkled a little bit of the sesame seeds on it. Now, the proper sesame seeds apparently you should be using are the black sesame seeds, or the ones that have a mix of black and white in them. And they look really pretty when you do that. But I just had these, so we're going to try this and see how this works. So, all right, so it looks really good. It's got a little bit. It's got that nice seaweed taste in it, so it's got a nice fishy taste to it. It's got a mixture of sweet and sour. I might want it a little sweeter, but I'm not quite sure. I have to press the rice a little tighter so it gets a firmer base to it, but that's really nice. All right. And that's it for this episode of the Unorthodox Vegan. Today we made sashimi using red and orange bell peppers, and marinating after we peeled them, marinated the bell peppers in a mix of seaweed plus rice vinegar plus some sugar, letting that marinate for a bit. Plating it on top of some rice, regular sushi rice that we made a couple of weeks ago, and then just serving it with a little bit of toasted or regular sesame seeds on top. Yeah, the black ones are even nicer looking. They're really cool. And it's very simple, fairly simple to make. A little bit of work on doing the bell peppers on getting the skin off of them, but that's a whole roasting thing. And, you can do other stuff while you're doing that. Anyway, lots of fun. So if you would like more information, you can always email me at my email up here, vrcompanions@gmail.com. Please follow me on my YouTube channel. That's www.youtube.com/the_unorthodox_vegan/. Until next time, my name is Sean Gold. Thank you for watching.